Okay, so we are all here because we want to grow our photography business. But the problem is most of us don't know how to reach clients, much less connect with the ones who are perfect for us. And here's why. We haven't figured out what experience we want our clients to have, nor are we able to communicate that experience in a way that they immediately understand by looking at our photos and thereafter want to hire us. So what does that have to do with red flag clients? Red flags are the things that are telling us to be careful and to ask whether this client is going to help or hinder our photography business growth. So let's get started. Just a little quick introduction from me. I am Bobby Barbarich. I have shot well over 250 weddings over 13 seasons. Well, I'm going into my 13th season. And I've won 55 international awards. And I'm just sharing that with you because I want you to have some modicum of trust that I've been through some stuff and I can talk with you about it. So in those 13 wedding seasons, I've been through a few things, and being a wedding photographer is incredible, but there are experiences that I do not want to have again. And I imagine you don't want them either. And in hindsight, those things were red flags. I did see them when those clients hired me. So today's hot topic chat is all about those red flags, some of my good and bad experiences, and why some are deal breakers and others not necessarily. A lot of photographers try to take on every client who comes their way, but you've likely experienced, as have I, that every prospect that comes to you is not going to be your ideal client. I know in my earlier days of business, I would be so blinded by the excitement and opportunity for a new project, or blinded by just being able, like having the ability to pay some bills if I took on the job, that my judgment would totally go out the window. And if I'm to be totally honest, I really didn't have much judgment at all. Being on the lookout for certain behaviors, personality traits, or requests will help you decide whether or not you want to take on the client in the first place. But note, I'm not going to tell you never to take on clients who do some of these things. That is for you to decide based on your current circumstances. I myself deviate from a few of these when other conditions are right, and I'll share those insights with you as well. So just always be mindful that these potential red flags, of these potential red flags for bad clients, so you can avoid nightmares and instead book clients of your dreams. And who doesn't want that? So with all that in mind, we're going to go over exactly what a red flag is, along with 7 telltale signs. There are many, but we're just going to talk about 7 today, and what to do about them, how to set boundaries, and then we're going to send you out of here with the confidence to say yes when it is right and hell no when it ain't. So red flags are any behavior, words, or concerns that should be a deal breaker for you. The hard pass, the hell no, the GTFO. But oftentimes we don't know these are red flags until we go through the experience and have the perspective of hindsight. And until you photographed a bunch of weddings, a few dozen at least, it can be really hard to see looking forward, especially if we're clouded by the fear of losing money or by an altruism that someone couldn't possibly do that to us. So let's look at those red flags, shall we? Number 1, just one of them attends the meeting. This is a big red flag for me. If only one person attends their discovery call, I know they are not on the same page. And when a couple isn't on the same page, there's going to be haggling between them or with me. There's going to be a difference of priorities. And it's going to show up continually, not only in our meetings prior, but also on the wedding day. One person is going to be way more engaged than the other, and that sucks. I personally don't like an imbalance between the partners. I want both folks to be equally enthused about photography and working with me. When one is tepid or reluctant, it opens the door for conflict, and I am not in the business of conflict. Further, If only one person meets me, that person is in charge of translating my story, my why, to their partner. Lots of things get lost in translation, even if we all speak the same language. So I want both partners to hear me at the same time why they should hire me from me. Then I can watch both of them process the information, and I can ask them each directly to share their ideas and concerns. And then we are all on the same page. Being on the same page is critically important to how I want to run my business. All right, number 2, when they start the meeting with, we just need, or we only want this or that. When a couple immediately uses the words just or only, it means they don't value what I bring to the table. It means they're already shutting down any possibility of anything but the status quo, or what they perceive to be what they need. It only means they're looking at this for the bare minimum. I am not a bare minimum service. Photography, no matter how it's priced, is luxury. No one needs photography. So I refuse to convince folks whether or not they need anything. When someone distills their photography down to only, then I know I have no budge room for upselling any albums or prints in the future, much less giving them extra hours on the day. More to the point, just and only means that they are ticking a box. They are ticking a box on their wedding list or their wedding to-do list. And I do not want to be a box that gets ticked. Number 3, if someone other than the couple wants to be the point of contact with me, whether that's a parent or a friend, or sometimes even the coordinator, that's a big red flag. Not only are my contracts with the clients themselves, and so legally it doesn't even work, but my business is built on trust. My clients must trust me to be there and everywhere for them. When there's a middleman, my message of genuine connection with a couple and their story gets lost. I am literally not connected with them. And so I will only take direction and work directly with the couple. Number 4, here's a biggie that has taken me a really, really long time to shake. And it's one that I still battle with, but I'm getting a lot better at it. When they ask me to do something that I don't do. So when a client asks for, say, commercial headshots or like including headshots or something with their family photography session, it immediately puts me off. 1, because it means that they don't understand me. It means that they see photography as something any photographer can do. And for me, that respect and understanding of my style and my approach is critical to producing the work that I'm proud of. And why is this about me? Some might be asking. I'm offering a service. They might say that the customer's is always right, something like that. But I think all that stuff is nonsense. Here's the thing. It's my business. I'm doing a service for them, yes, but this is my business. How I run it and the projects I take on are entirely up to me. When someone asks me to do one thing and then they ask me to do something else, despite hiring me for the first thing, and it's something that I don't want to do, or it wasn't included in the original contract, that is a huge red flag. Like, I'm not going to go into a hairstylist and ask them to do my makeup. Is there an association between the services? Yeah, it's my head. Sure. Is that what the person I hired ready to do for me? No. So this asking for additional services or something that's not really related to what you normally do, or something that maybe you're not even quite comfortable with, this ask points to a deeper issue, and that is the one of respect and understanding. If I don't feel like a client respects me or understands my work, they're a hell no. I don't want to work with them. Okay. Number 5. Asking for discounts. So I used to actually use this to attract people. And you know what it attracted? It attracted discount shoppers. I want clients to choose me because I'm a person they connect with, not a number they compare to. But I know it's tempting to drop a couple $100 just to make sure that I make at least a few more $100 than that, right? Like if I can close the sale with a discount, it means I actually got the sale. But I'm here to tell you that those clients, sooner or later, they will be your biggest headache. They will want discounts on everything, and they will ask for far more than you're willing to give. They will push you in ways that you hadn't expected to be pushed. Extra edits, longer shooting time, additional photos, discounts on follow-up sessions. Asking for discounts is a clear red flag that a client feels entitled to what they perceive they should be getting from you. And this, my friend, this wears you down. Sure, there are some very nice folks that want a little discount and they're grateful for it. But for the most part, a price shopper is looking for a steal, and they want to steal it from you. All right, number 6, asking for raws. Say what? You want my raws? GTFO. Hell no, I never have and never, ever will give a client my raws. That's like giving them a bag of flour when they ask for cookies. Raws are a peek into my brain that I don't care to provide. It also, again, points to a lack of trust or a lack of respect. And those people are not my people. There are scenarios where people ask for raws when they actually mean full resolution files. And in that scenario, I have to make sure that they actually know what raw files are, so that we can clarify if they're actually looking for full resolution files. Sometimes it just comes from a place of curiosity. They want raws. They want to see what that transformation is like of the image. Sometimes they're a hobbyist and they just want to play around, but I can't stomach that idea. And so for me, that's a big red flag. All right, the last one that we're going to talk about tonight is a phrase that someone once said to me: an ass might get grabbed. So this story gets me every time, and I'm sharing it because I saw the red flags when I was dealing with this client, and I was actually sad that they hadn't hired me, and then this happened. Okay, so this couple, I went out for coffee with them. We had a little breakfast. We had a pretty good interaction, but there was something a little bit weird with the guy. She seemed great, but she kept deferring to him for everything. And he felt like there was some sort of filter that was going on with him in terms of how he wanted to speak with me. His wife or his fiance at the time, was very communicative. She answered all my questions. And then after the meeting, she followed up. She had a couple of questions. They were centered around price. I was okay with that. And then they just ghosted. They just absolutely disappeared. So I had sent them the contract. We were at that point where they wanted to see the contract, and it was feeling like it was probably going to happen, even though I was like, I don't know if I necessarily like that guy, but I needed the money. I wanted the money, and I wanted to book them. And then a few days later, I hadn't heard from them, and I get a phone call. And the person on the other line asks if I'm available for their date. And I was like, sure. And then I said, what's your name? And he gave me their names. And I was like, you've actually spoken with me before. So red flag, he didn't even remember the conversation with me. He didn't remember what my name was. I was just someone that they were talking to. He hadn't given me the respect or the consideration of actually figuring out who I was. And so I said, hey, I sent you that contract and I haven't heard from you. What's going on? And he said, well, there's a phrase that I don't like in the contract. And I was like, well, that's that happens sometimes. A contract is an agreement between two parties. If you're not comfortable with something, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can change it or change it in a way that you're more comfortable. And the phrase that he was, or the item he was referring to was my one about sexual harassment or being harassed by anybody at the wedding. And more or less it said if someone makes the photographer feel uncomfortable, photographer reserves the right to leave the party and there's no further obligation. And this guy said, I don't want to be on the hook because sometimes an ass might get grabbed. Nope. And so after that, my friends, I maintain a very clear harassment clause in my contract. That wedding would have been one where something like that would have happened. So perhaps that was a red flag for him that I would call someone out on that. But that was definitely a red flag for me. It repelled someone who potentially would have treated me very poorly. And I thank my lucky stars every day that I did not have to go through that experience with them. All right. So we have talked about some common red flags, and I've shared my personal take on a few scenarios where I learned to avoid challenging clients. But the only way that I've been able to do this is by knowing what my services are and knowing exactly where my boundaries lie. I am a documentary wedding and family photographer. I do not do portraits or commercial or headshots, generally speaking. I want my clients to feel supported when we speak. I want them to feel trust while I'm shooting and to feel absolute joy when they hold their story in their hands. I want to feel like an old friend to them, or at least a cool cousin that they want to hang out with, to feel comfortable enough to reveal intimacy in front of that person. Lastly, anything that makes me feel supported or not trusted means there is a lack of trust. And that is what they will feel in their experience with me. And I don't want them to feel that. So I really have to check in with my gut to feel whether or not these folks are going to let me do my thing and let me into their inner circle. If they hold me at an arm's length and treat me like a servant, I am not their photographer. But if I can tell that they'll let me in with their crew and treat me like a trusted relative, then I know they're going to love the photos that I make for them. So that's the experience that I want them to have. And now in terms of what I won't tolerate, these are my boundaries. I will not tolerate any form of abuse, and I will not tolerate any form of misogyny, racism, homophobia, any type of intolerance. I have a clear statement on my website saying so, and I listen very closely to what they talk about in our discovery call and how they talk to each other. And to back this all up, I also thoroughly stalk them on socials. I want to know who I'm working with. My work is incredibly important to me. My work takes up valuable time in my life that I am not with people, my loved ones. So the relationship is incredibly important. That is the framework around which I build my business. So red flags get ignored when we're worried about money. Money will often make us overlook our boundaries and our values, especially if we're hurting financially. But if you have a terrible time with a client, is it worth that money? Only you can answer that question. Is it worth blocking off your calendar for them and taking that time away from another potential client who doesn't have those red flags? Just what are you willing to give up when you say that you accept those warning signs? But if you diligently do the work to define clear boundaries and you plot out the experience you want your clients to have, and your experience should be based on your personal values as a human being, your confidence in smelling these guys out skyrockets. You'll be able to see the red flags before you give them your time, and you will attract more of the clients that light you up. So as your confidence as a photographer increases, the frequency of red flags decreases. It's a very beautiful relationship. All right, so as I mentioned in the beginning, we're all here because we want to grow our photography business. And I said the problem as it related to business growth is that many of us don't know how to reach clients, much less connect with the ones who are perfect for us. It also makes it really hard for us to identify red flags and what to do about them. And here's why. When we haven't figured out what experience we want our clients to have and how to communicate that in a way that they immediately understand by looking at our photos and our socials and our websites, we miss out on them. So in March, I'm going to open the doors to my signature coaching program, The Confident Photographer. In this course, we spend a lot of time defining your client experience. Your client experience is your money maker. It's what will make your client into a raving fan who recommends you to everyone who says the word photographer. And the reason we get so in depth with client experience is that it's a manifestation of your why. When you build a business based on your why, based on your values, you never lose focus of what's important. And things like red flag clients never become the nightmare they are for those who don't understand their why. We want a thriving photography business. So we have to build that on a foundation of our why. Enrollment for the Confident Photographer opens in March, so keep an eye on your emails for those early bird discounts. Now, last topic. We're going to talk about contracts. A contract is an agreement between two parties, as I mentioned earlier, and that's it. Whatever you agree to are the parameters of your relationship. Now, the red flags I've talked about do not need to be listed in your contract, other than the harassment one. But these red flags are harbingers of the troubles that could come to pass. Think of red flags as the touch point for where someone's personality or expectations could potentially come up against your business's survival. If someone doesn't respect me, as I've explained, and as a critical element of what I need to do good work, then I can bet that they won't respect the larger elements of my service. When photos will be delivered, how much editing I'm willing to do after the fact, whether or not they try to stop me from using their photos in advertising, as some examples. So you can think of these red flags as portals to where your contract can be potentially challenged. And if it's not in your contract, that's when the nightmare begins. Now, I am not a lawyer, and thus I cannot give you any legal advice. So I don't want to go into any more detail or specifics about contracts here, but I do encourage you to have an actual lawyer look at your contract. Lots of us get templates online, which are generally fine, but if you're concerned about anything, it can definitely be worth the money to pay for a contract template from an actual lawyer, not what Google has pulled up for you. So on this page, the legal page, the Law Talk, and Bobby Klink are all photographer lawyers. They have excellent contract templates that you can purchase and download. All right, so we've come to the end of my hot topic. So let's chat. Thanks for being here.